Our fifth story out front now is a controversial ad that many say is hateful toward Muslims. It will be showing up at New York City subway stations next week. And here's what it reads. In any war between the civilized man and the savage, support the civilized man. Support Israel, defeat jihad. New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority tried to reject this ad, but a federal judge ruled it free speech and forced them to put it up. Out front tonight, the woman behind the ad, Pamela Geller. I asked her why she's doing it.
Well, there have been a series of anti-Israel ads that have been running for years in the New York City subway system and New York City Metro Transit and across the country as well. I submitted my ads when anti-Semitic ads were running in the subway last year, September, and my ads were rejected. And, you know, the First Amendment protects all speech, not just ideas that we like, but ideas that we don't like, because then who would decide what's good and what's forbidden? The government? Violent rioters? So we sued. My organization sued. My law firm, American Freedom Law Center, we triumphed. And it was a triumph for First Amendment, because it wasn't just the fact that my ads had to go up. It was that the judge ruled that their regulations and standards were unconstitutional. So Monday was the day, next Monday is the day they're scheduled to go up. I'm running them because I can.
All right, so you can. But does that mean that you should?
Well, why should we allow only one narrative out there? I think we need to talk about this. The fact that there's been such a visceral reaction to these ads, and particularly in the media, to me speaks to a much larger problem. The problem is this increasing Sharia. The blasphemy laws under the Sharia says you cannot offend Islam, you cannot criticize Islam.
But when you say one narrative, I see your ad, and I see the same narrative that an anti-Israel ad would have. It's a narrative of hate.
Really? I have to tell you, I think any war against innocent civilians is savagery. I think the tens of thousands of rockets coming into Israel from Gaza, targeting homes and schools is savagery. I think the murder of the Fogel family was savagery. I think the blowing up of a bus in Bulgaria, Jewish women and children on holiday, is savagery. I think Daniel Pearl's beheading is savagery. I think that there is...
But why call the whole religion savages?
How am I doing that? There's no Islam in the ad or Muslim in the ad.
Okay, but the word jihad actually means struggle and technically in the Quran to improve yourself, to make yourself a better person. It doesn't mean just going out and suicide bombing people.
Well, I beg to differ.
But that is what the word means. It means struggle.
Actually, in the Quran, nothing speaks to a spiritual struggle. It's all holy war. And the jihadists that are committing jihad are citing Quranic chapter and verse as a holy war.
And they may be, and I don't think that there's anybody in that religion, right, the people who would say, okay, I'm all right with that. The vast majority of Muslims would say that our religion is a religion of peace and tolerance and love, just like Jews would say, or Christians would say.
But Christians are not beheading people and slaughtering people in the name of Christ, and Jews are not doing it in the name of Hashem. There is a faction. There is a very significant faction of devout Muslims, jihadists, that believe in this. Now, clearly all Muslims do not sanction jihad and do not sanction what's going on, these violent protests. But I will not abridge my speech. I will not sacrifice my speech so as not to offend savages. And we do need to talk about this, Erin. There have been
let's talk about the word savage, all right? Okay. The word savage, dictionary word, when we're for uncivilized and barbarous. Obviously, over history, this has been a word that has been used in very, very racially negative terms about African Americans. It's a word that is, I think, fair to say, people imply to feel is very negative and derogatory. So why did you choose to call them savages?
Because any war on the civilized man or innocent civilians is savagery. And you're accusing me of thought crimes. You're implying, you're twisting the message. There's a misinterpretation here. Any war on innocent civilians is savagery. It is a word, it is a dictionary-defined word. I frankly cannot cotton to this twisting of the word that it means something else. I meant what I said, and I stand behind it. There had been over 20...
What you said, though, was you're doing this because you have free speech.
No.
And just because I can come out and say all kinds of things about somebody because I can say it doesn't mean that I say it. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think my message is controversial. There have been close to 20,000 Islamic attacks since 9/11, each one with the imprimatur of a Muslim cleric. We need to be able to discuss this thing. This doesn't mean that all Muslims subscribe to this, but there is a problem. And part of the problem is you can't talk about it. Look what's happening. If it's not my ad, then it's a Danish cartoon. If it's not a Danish cartoon, it's a Swedish cartoon. And now it's a French cartoon. And if it's not a French cartoon, it's a YouTube clip. And if it's not a YouTube clip, it's
What did you think of the movie? The trailer, did you see it?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No. Why would I see it?
I don't know. I mean, you're someone who in the past has obviously taken on this issue. Obviously, you did not support the mosque near Ground Zero.
No, because it's
along with actually Steve Klein, a man who was a consultant on the innocence of Muslims, along with Nikula.
I don't know Steve Klein. I don't care. It doesn't matter. This is freedom of expression. This is freedom of speech. It protects all speech. You don't like it? That's fine. You don't have to like it. But to try to abridge my speech is imposing the Sharia. You're imposing the blasphemy laws on a free society.
Well, whether I like it or anyone likes it isn't necessarily the point. The point is, if your goal is to try to create tolerance and deal with some of the hate and horrible acts that have happened, is your ad the way to do it?
Yes, we have to increase awareness on imposing the blasphemy laws in the West. And my way, there's no tolerance on my side. I don't want to kill anybody. I mean, there are things I see that get me very angry, but I'm not going to go out and burn embassies and kill people. I'm not going to do it.
What if someone was hurt because of your ad?
I'm not responsible for other people's actions. It doesn't make any sense. It's like a man going in to his bedroom and finding his wife with a man, and he kills him. He was very angry. He was very offended. Oh, he was? Okay, then he could kill him. I am not responsible for anyone's actions, and worse, I think your position is emboldening Islamic terrorism and emboldening extremism because you're sanctioning it. You're sanctioning the motive.
No, I don't believe that I'm sanctioning it at all.
But you are, because I'm the problem. You're blaming the victim. I'm not the problem.
How are you the victim?
Because you're killing the messenger.
Messenger of what?
The messenger that we need to increase awareness of these attacks that have been inspired by jihad.
I think the world is acutely aware of those attacks.
I don't think so. The media refuses to talk about it. And when I do talk about it, we're marginalized.
You must not be a CNN watcher. I've been wall to wall for the past week.
The perception in the media in terms of jihad clearly is one that's couched in silencing the voices of freedom. Look at this ad. There were hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of anti-Israel ads across America. Nobody said boo. How come you didn't have the people on that ran those anti-Israel ads? Not one, but two in New York.
I am not familiar with those ads, but I want to ask you something important.
But you see,
from both sides.
But you're not familiar with those ads, which tells you that there is a systemic, institutionalized A, anti-Israel bias in the media, and B,
I have to say, I love visiting Israel, and I love visiting across the Middle East. I would certainly not.
I'm not accusing you of anti-Semitism. I'm pointing something out to you. Nobody talked about the ads. It wasn't just you, Erin. Nobody talked about the anti-Israel ads that were up on New York City Metro and that were up in New York City subways. The one in New York City subway was urging the end of U.S. aid to Israel, implying that U.S. aid to Israel was an impediment to peace, when in fact U.S. aid to Israel is an impediment to the annihilation of Israel. But nobody said anything about those. They were vile.
That is an interesting political conversation on aid to Israel and what it is and what it accomplishes, and a topic for a separate thing. But I want to ask you something about, we called both the Anti-Defamation League, obviously the highest profile organization that tries to fight against anti-Semitism.
No, they don't.
And also the Council of American Islamic Relations. Let me just, they are known for that they track hate crimes against Jews. That is something that they do. Here's what they said. We believe, referring to your ads, Pamela, we believe the ads are highly offensive and inflammatory. Pro-Israel does not mean anti-Muslim. It's possible to support Israel without engaging in bigoted anti-Muslim and anti-Arab stereotypes. The basic premise of the ad is illegitimate, and continuing to run it is irresponsible. Okay. These are people who make it their cause in life to fight against anti-Semitism.
No, the ADL actually makes it their cause in fight to fight fellow Jews. I mean, the ADL was denouncing Joan Rivers last week. Really, no one in the Jewish community that loves Israel takes them seriously.